All right, good morning, traders. This is a Friday edition to what I shared with you guys on Monday, and the only reason I'm doing this because I want you to get a better idea of understanding price, especially when it comes to these locations. I talked to you, I believe whatever I sent out Monday was be prepared for this thing to roll over and fill this gap down to 37, which we eventually did. It did. Held up Monday. I think this came Tuesday. I take it back. It held up Tuesday. This came Wednesday. Um, actually, okay, it was Wednesday and Thursday. Nonetheless, it did roll over, and you could see once again the significance of the moving averages to all these markets, although the Dow's in another world altogether. Um, so, you know, what happened yesterday is you had that huge overnight roll down and all that uneasiness based around the numbers that came out. Obviously, the market's going to factor in another rate hike. And what it did is the markets came and they took out 37 in the morning and it came through it. And they punched through all the way down to the second MA. And it was really early in the day. So, you have to be patient enough to withstand the heat and wait for this thing to find itself. And you're still in a bull market, and eventually you saw the reaction that came off of this 23.24, which I believe provided a fairly decent long for yesterday that eventually came up. And then the markets closed above the MA. As you can see, the NASDAQ also pinched all the way down to about 150, give or take, even a little lower. And today we couldn't even get today. And I want to show you how today's price action because you hear me speak often about the locations and how important it is to my trading and to the type of trades that I look to take and the trust that I have in these areas. But to help you maybe better understand why these areas are so great, and especially the pivots and or the MAs. So just for the sake of conversation, let's take a look at today. And today was an inside day, but even in an inside day, it's all about management. And you can see, and I added this, and trust me, I believe that when it comes to trading, less is more. But I've been doing this for a long time, so I understand the price action in and around these averages and these locations, and I trust them. But if you really want to see it in a better context, here's a good indicator you can add. And trust me, I don't like to put too much into a trader's mind when it comes to trading. The less cluttered you are, the better decisions you make. But this is more of a confirmation of momentum. And it's important to understand momentum because momentum can stretch, price can stretch, but momentum can hold on. And I'll show you a couple of examples of that. But for what it's worth, this morning, you can see right here, we around 8:30, you can see that the negative momentum kind of started to fade, it flattened out, and then you got the build. Okay, this came off. This was an ASIC actually. Let's take a look at the ES. Here's the ES, and and this was a pretty significant location if you really wanted to be aggressive. I backed off of this. I'd like to see in the morning. I'd like to see it play out a little more. But you can tell, you can see we were fighting. We just kept chopping around EMA around 42, and we couldn't get underneath 37, but we kept bouncing. And you can see, look right here. See how this thing broke out at the MA? See the MACD start to roll up, the momentum start to take off. But pay attention to it. So see, we get up to the daily pivot, which is around 50. Okay, and look at momentum. It's fading, but price is holding on. So you're waiting to see if you're going to get a confirmation for a turn. And here was the first indication that we're about to roll. Okay, momentum is flattened out. Okay, we're fighting these MAs right here. You're fighting the pivot, but the sell signal's in place. So anywhere in here was a viable short. 49, 48, three handle stop, you're golden. And I like to do it a little higher when it comes to these locations because you just don't want to get chopped out. And you can just see the end result. Now, this one, this would have been a more manageable trade if you took it early. But even if you stayed with the trade, it never really punched you out. And then eventually, you can see the momentum. Look how the price, no matter what the price did, momentum was down all the way through this run up. And then The confirmation was right here. This is obviously the better of the shorts. And then look where it runs down to, right to the MA. Now, this is what's important about momentum. You get this bounce right here from 42 all the way back up to 46, 47. But look at momentum's telling you. So it's telling you to be careful. Could it change and turn up? Of course it can. But right here, it confirms the downside one more time. Right here at around 45, 44, and this would have given you your next short. So, this is a good way of like seeing the confirmation at these locations, which gives you a better idea of what you're doing and a little more confidence. And you could just see the rest of the day. It's a Friday. I don't know what they're going to do with it. They could probably just mark it up. You can see the Nasdaq did pretty much the same thing in the morning. And I like to watch these because it's good to get a little follow through with both markets. And you can see the Nasdaq fizzled out at 186. And that's a big deal because the MAs are coming in at around 170. So they don't want any part of it today in both of these markets. They came down to this one. You can see overnight. In fact, look, the low overnight is right at the MA. We haven't tapped it. Could it happen in the afternoon? Anything can happen, but it's Friday. I don't know. I wouldn't want to test it on either end, so probably let it go and just be smart about what you're doing in terms of your trading. It's an inside day, but you just never know what the powers would be and what direction they're going to take it in. But this is a better idea of understanding these locations with momentum and understanding that price can fade and momentum remains, which is telling you that all this is profit taking, just profit taking. And this is a really good way to understand whether or not momentum will continue or will it fade out. Both these markets are hovering around a pivot, so it's anybody's game. But I just thought this would be a good little video for you. And hopefully, this is something you can maybe apply to kind of give you a better read on what you're doing if you're trading futures. You got any questions, reach out. Have a great weekend. Take care, everybody.